me go ahead and get started. Hopefully we can get on and off this call pretty quickly today. I actually am going to demo a little bit in product so that you guys can see some options with QuickBooks Point of Sale. There has not been well, let's go ahead and move forward here. So we're just going to be talking about updates. Where do we go from here? Also, we're going to look a little bit at where QuickBooks products are improving, and hopefully I'll have some new bits each month, right? At least for QuickBooks Online, because they are developing that rapidly. As always, I didn't show this last time, but I just wanted to remind everyone something that does make Fourlane unique and why a lot of our clients do like working with us. Probably 90% of our customers are in QuickBooks, just because there are more QuickBooks customers than any other product that exists out there by multiple multipliers. But we do represent NetSuite, Xero, and Acumatica as well, so we are not specific to QuickBooks. We are not 100% QuickBooks loyal, which is why a lot of you have been sticking with us, right, as customers for such a long time. So a couple things that changed. I know that last time we discussed how QuickBooks UK desktop discontinuation happened, which was like an email that went out in October, and then by February you did not have access to product anymore. So since our last meeting, we met on February 6th last time. There was an update that came out around QuickBooks Point of Sale. And that update was that on 2/8, they said, we're no longer selling QuickBooks Point of Sale licenses to new customers. So previously to that, QuickBooks Point of Sale, or QuickBooks Point of Sale, buy it. It was similar to when you bought QuickBooks Pro and Premier historically, where you bought it outright. There has never been a subscription for QuickBooks Point of Sale. Right now through 10.3, you can add seats to QuickBooks Point of Sale if you have it already, but not any new customers. I expect to see some stuff on eBay, right, where you can buy other people's licenses and things like this. As of 10.3, so they're giving us from February 8th, they're saying as of 10.3, right, about 8 months, all services inside of QuickBooks Point of Sale are going to stop. So what that means is if people are using integrated Intuit merchant services, if they're using gift card services, if they're using the mobile sync to sync between, the mobile sync to the GoPayment app, any support like data security, PCI compliance, all that's going to be gone. Store exchange, so if you have multiple locations in Point of Sale, the store exchange will not happen automatically. You can do it manually through mail bags. That's going away. The connection to WebGility is stopping. And then the vendor lookup service. So QuickBooks Point of Sale is officially on a discontinuation pathway, right? So similar to like in QuickBooks Desktop land, in Pro and Premier or Enterprise, they say we're going to sunset QuickBooks Premier 2020, right, or Pro 2020 or Enterprise 2020. That's what's happening this year. As of May 31st, 2023. So that means the 2021 product, 2022, and 2023 products are all still supported and available, and services will work in them. But they sunset is what they call it, right, or discontinue support integrated services with QuickBooks Premier and Pro and Enterprise 2020 or below, right? So in this, with that same page, Intuit has a page on their website that talks about the discontinuation. With that same page, Point of Sale is now on that page as well. So not Point of Sale, 2020, Point of Sale product as a whole going away. So if you have any customers, friends, anything that are using QuickBooks Point of Sale, we're going to talk through a couple of options that we are doing with customers to make sure that everybody has awareness. Now, I showed you this last time, but it has more meaning this time, right? So you can stay in the QuickBooks Point of Sale product. You just would have to get a different credit card processor so a standalone credit card processor, or there's a couple of integrated ones that we have as options. Intuit is pushing Shopify. We did our due diligence with Shopify, and it will not work for the majority of our clients. And the reason for that is, first of all, it is app-based, so Android or iOS app-based. And so you have to get all new hardware. A lot of our clients are going to go through and do that. We have chosen to back up Lightspeed as the solution for our clients who have true retail. So QSR, if they need to take tips, if they're having, more than an order every 10 minutes, if they have a lot of cash flowing through, we're going to be pushing our clients through to Lightspeed. And then we have this QuickBooks Point of Sale Lite product, which is what we have made. It's actually a product that we made about a decade ago, and then we have just brought it back and made it look like newer and stuff like that, on top of QuickBooks Enterprise, because a lot of our clients who were in QuickBooks Point of Sale, truly most of their customers bought on account, and QuickBooks Enterprise handles that great. So we have a couple questions. Let me just take a look real quick to make sure I'm not missing anything. Need to use the telephone. Okay. Does the sunset of point of sale apply to QuickBooks Online also, or only to QuickBooks Desktop? There's a question here. So point of sale did not connect naturally to QuickBooks Online before. You had to use a third-party application, and I think it worked a little bit. Thanks, Natalia. The point of sale connection to desktop, it has not been mentioned that the connector between point of sale and QuickBooks Desktop is going to go away, meaning to the financial side, but I assume that it will not be supported, and so therefore it will not be going away. Okay. So somebody asked, is Pro not the same as Desktop Pro? Yeah, so QuickBooks Desktop, when I'm talking about QuickBooks Desktop, I'm talking about Pro, Premier, and QuickBooks Enterprise. All right, so let's go into, I just want to show you guys so you have awareness of the things that are possible, right, as we are headed towards some of the discontinuations that are going on out there. So our company, again, we created what's called a point of sale Lite product. That's what we're calling it, because it's not full point of sale, but it sits on top of QuickBooks and looks like point of sale. So we are giving this as an option for our clients who aren't full retail, right? Like grocery, clothing stores, things like that. People who are more like, we have spa resellers who are contractor supply houses, if they have multiple locations. So anyway, a lot of our clients are using this. You have when you log in, you have a couple of settings that you can do. So you can have a default customer if you don't want to track customers. It does sales tax appropriately by location, default classes and default warehouses. You can set up users and roles in here. And then, of course, you have a sync to QuickBooks. When you open it, it will naturally sync to QuickBooks as well, because this application does sit on top of QuickBooks, right? You can view your sales history. This is touchscreen enabled. So you can see, like, if I click on another sale, it has I'm very zoomed in, so that's why I have to scroll across, but it has the sales receipt over there. So it feels and looks similar to like a QuickBooks point of sale product. When you add an item in here, so let's say I'm going to add a CDR drive, right? I can up the quantity just like point of sale. I can add a new customer from in here, right? So I could add a customer if I want to, or use my existing customer list. And then I have the opportunity to take credit card or buy on account. So if I take a credit card, one of the things that is a pain point for our clients that are in QuickBooks Point of Sale is that they want to be able to take credit cards easily. and so it will flip over to your QuickBooks account to process your credit card, basically. So you just, hit Visa, MasterCard, and if you have a swipe or whatever, then it would just swipe it right through. So you don't have to override and use a new payment processor, right? We just get you a QuickBooks desktop payment account. So there's that. And then if I wanted to buy, I can save and print the receipt. And then if I wanted to do another one and buy on account, so pick a different customer and I buy on account, and it comes in as an invoice instead, right, of a sales receipt. So pretty basic. The reason that some of our clients are using this is they just like the ease of use. It's also touchscreen enabled, and they are just trying to have like a point of sale software, but it connects to QuickBooks. This will use the QuickBooks inventory, so it doesn't take over your inventory the way point of sale will. So things like this are possible, right? I just wanted to give a quick overview of things that are possible through discontinuation if people are really trying hard to stay inside of QuickBooks, okay? It does, so this product does not actually process credit cards at all. So somebody asked, does point of sale store card information for each customer? So it actually doesn't do anything with the credit card processing. What it does is it relies on Intuit's credit card processing inside a QuickBooks desktop. So in the customer center, right, you can store credit card information in here safely. So it would rely on that. Yeah. Somebody asked if it works, if POS Lite will work with a barcode scanner. So yeah, the answer is yes. When I come up here, I don't have this item set up, but you can see like it grabs the barcode, and I don't have an item set up for this one right now, but yeah, it does work with a barcode scanner. The other thing is people don't really need point of sale Lite per se. I mean, when we used to have a lot of our clients that went into QuickBooks point of sale, it was actually because they needed to use the barcode, right? And so when they, now that you can use the barcode scanner inside of QuickBooks Financial, so let me go ahead and edit an item in here and put in a barcode number. So I'm just going to scan my water bottle. Barcode. Right now, now that QuickBooks Enterprise, this is QuickBooks Enterprise, can do barcode scanning. A lot of people can probably just use QuickBooks Enterprise alone, right? So I can, right, and it picks up the quantity. This didn't exist when there were a lot of point of sale customers buying the product. You couldn't use barcode scanning inside of QuickBooks Enterprise yet. So the only alternative was to go to point of sale. So, I mean, point of sale Lite might be right in some instances, but sometimes just QuickBooks Enterprise is fine for some of these point of sale customers also. No, this webinar is not just about point of sale, but the reason it's such a big deal, so somebody was asking, is because it is a discontinuation of a desktop product that's happening, right? So as the desktop product discontinuation stuff comes about, we're going to be notifying you guys. Okay. Let me move on. Sorry, I have some screenshots in here because I was going to show. So let me just get past these. Okay. So again, what do you want to do with this information? It's yet another product being discontinued. So we say don't panic. We do have CPA Academy webinars as well coming up, sharing whatever information we can. And we have the Facebook group, which we'll share out any information as it becomes available. On the accounting side of things, so let's get into the accounting side of things because people have been asking a lot of questions around that too. So I still strongly feel that we are headed towards consolidation of product, I guess is the right way to say it. So being that QuickBooks Pro is no longer available for sale in any channel, you can only buy it on the phone. My expectation is that at some point that product is also going to be discontinued, meaning QuickBooks Desktop Pro. At some point after that, I expect that this QuickBooks Desktop Premier will also be continued. I have no indication that QuickBooks Enterprise is going anywhere. In fact, they are continuing to update that product continuously. And then, of course, there's QuickBooks Online, which is clearly not going anywhere, as we all know. Okay. So you guys saw this slide last time. A couple of things that I wanted to just make sure that I updated you on. So QuickBooks Enterprise, even if people are switching products, still a great place to get cleaned up before. Like I have a client right now that's switching to NetSuite, and I have told them we need to get things fixed first in Enterprise before we go on up to NetSuite, because it's harder to fix there than it is here. I feel like dug enough to get to more the right people and also the right ask for how to get a multi-company discount on QBO, because I know that there are a lot of people who would love to go to QBO, but they're not going to pay, $60,000 a year for QuickBooks Online for their 100 companies. So I am making my way through that. The ask has been, we need a different SKU. That's how Intuit functions now, is based on SKUs. So we need a multi-company SKU. So not an answer for that yet, but hoping to have an answer for you guys maybe by next month or the month after for the people who do want to switch up to QuickBooks Online. So to help build the confidence in QuickBooks Enterprise, I do want to make sure that you guys understand some of the new features that have come out recently. So right now, they did a mid-year release on the approval process to add purchase orders. If you guys want more information on any of these, we have the What's New webinar that we can give you as a recording. We have intercompany transactions that was added in September. This has been a #1 ask for years. Like I'm talking since 2006, like #1 ask for years for Intuit to do, and they did it. Now, the one thing that I do like to point out, and I hope that this is the case. I don't know that this is the case, but I hope. With the intercompany transaction feature, it actually does not sit inside of, it sits like it's a screen inside of QuickBooks Enterprise, but it does not use the QuickBooks Enterprise code, right? It sits on top of it, similar to like how an app does. And so my hope is that because it sits on top of it, that this will be easier to transfer to like a QBO. So if you have, I don't know, WebGility or Bill.com or whatever, right? Bill.com is a separate application that can connect to QuickBooks Desktop or to QuickBooks Online. My hope is that the way that Intuit is developing their products, because that's the way it looks, is that these features will transfer over to QuickBooks Online when QuickBooks Online is ready for them. So that, to me, is also good news. They added item categories, which is not super usable yet, but it's getting there, right? Which is great. This is something that most other systems have the ability to categorize items. It's just another way to splice your data. And then they added expiration dates this year. And so some major changes happening in Enterprise. And I know, I'm still seeing development happening and questions being asked of like, what should we be working on for QuickBooks Enterprise, which tells me that this product is not on the pathway towards going away, okay? Just so that we're aware too, though, of what we're doing in QuickBooks Online Advanced. So most of the development that's happening in QuickBooks Online is happening in Advanced, is what I've noticed. Some of the fixes are happening in some of the lower levels of QuickBooks Online, but Advanced is really like their front runner. Somebody asked me last time too what mid-market is considered. In this area, Intuit considers mid-market above 10 employees, which we can and people can chuckle around that, right? But a couple things with QuickBooks Online Advanced. You can have a sandbox environment, which is awesome. We do that with our clients a lot, especially conversion clients. And they do have features planned. Features are being rolled out frequently, like every couple of months. So some of the new things that they just added there, they added revenue recognition, which is something that desktop does not do. Now we can figure it out, right? We can show people how to do it, but it doesn't truly do. So when I set up an item I can say I recognize revenue for this product monthly. On the invoice itself, it's really hard to see, sorry, but on the invoice itself, you can see I added the subscription and it has view revenue recognition. And then it gives your amortization schedule for you, like it figures it out for you and pushes the portions through the liability account, and then creates the transactions to recognize the revenue periodically. So pretty cool advancement. Definitely something that has been asked in QuickBooks Desktop. Most of our clients in QuickBooks Desktop or QuickBooks Online who need this feature have used SaaS Optics in the past for contract management, and it's full contract management, so it's a little bit more. Also, one of the newer features that's available in QuickBooks Online, I don't think that this is advanced only though. It's a really cool feature. It's one of the ideas that we presented to Intuit a couple years ago to ask them to make this happen, and look, they did. It's called the QuickBooks Business Network, right? So many of your customers and your vendors use QuickBooks. So why can't we talk to each other, right? Why can't we have basically EDI built in product? And so this allows that, where you can look for a company in the business network. If they're not a member of the business network, you can invite them. And then you can enter an invoice in your system and they get a bill in their system. Okay, so pretty cool stuff. All right, so let me go back through some of these questions. I did not intend this to take the whole time. What if you subscribe to payroll tables, Sally asked. So payroll inside of QuickBooks Desktop is changing only for the basic version of payroll, and it's an older version that hasn't been for sale for a while. But if you used the basic version, you got an email and it said, hey, you are now going to have to pay $5 per direct deposit. That's a lot. So big change, because they're basically trying to get you into another product, right? So they want people out of that product and into another one. But besides that, normal payroll in QuickBooks Desktop is not changing. There have been historically, they've taught accountants, right? Like they say, hey, you have the accountants edition of payroll and you get 3 free subscriptions. You can process 3 companies for free on payroll. That was something that existed, but the thing was that there was no limitation. So you could process 500. They never policed it, basically. And I expect that will change, but I haven't heard anything about it. They are not allowing some of these freebies to happen, which they shouldn't, right? Let's be real. If you pay for 3, you should get 3, and then maybe they should do like 5 user packages above that, 5 company packages above that or something. I have not heard a proposed solution around it, but my expectation is that that's going to change. Says, where can I call to ask questions? Denny, you can email me. Let me go to the next screen. Marjorie at Fourlane, if you have any questions. So Denny, the support for QuickBooks Point of Sale is going away. The support for QuickBooks Pro and Premier, if you are on a subscription or Enterprise, is not going away right now, right? So those will all be supported still. So you have no reason to panic yet. Again, I'm just telling stories because we're seeing repetitive behavior in how things are rolled out, right? And awareness is key. So we can start, you don't have to do anything yet, but we can start planning in our brain, what do we want to do? Do we want to stick with QuickBooks because it's going to be an easier transition? Move to Enterprise, super easy. Sometimes move to QBO, pretty easy. Definitely easier than switching to like a Xero or a NetSuite. But, you know, if you're feeling uncomfortable, then you might want to get away from a brand. So we just want to get your brains thinking. Is Accountants Edition of QuickBooks Desktop the same as Pro? So the Accountants Edition, there's 2 Accountants Editions in Desktop. There is QuickBooks Accountant Edition, QuickBooks Desktop Accountant. That is actually in Premier. You can open QuickBooks Pro files in that edition. And then there's QuickBooks Enterprise Accountant Edition. So there are two different versions. Right now, no details of those going away, right? It's just for now. It says Point of Sale Lite, a desktop program doesn't need connection to the internet. So it's a desktop program. It functions on your desktop. So I have a lot of clients using QuickBooks Desktop, not big enough for Enterprise. Is there a product, not NetSuite, I like that, David, that is recommended? I mean, to be honest, any kind of conversion is going to take or cost more than moving to Enterprise, right? Enterprise has, well, and also the Pro and Premier had a massive price hike this year. I expect there to be another pretty big price hike. I would expect there's going to be another pretty big price hike coming up this year. So they're pricing to Enterprise already, like more level playing field. And if you go outside of QuickBooks, I mean, the only other one is maybe like a Stage 50, but then you're talking about going to Xero or QBO anyway. So Tracy asked if I said you can no longer buy QuickBooks Desktop Pro. That is correct. You cannot buy, I'm sorry, you can still buy QuickBooks Desktop Pro. You cannot buy it online anywhere. It is not available for sale, like Costco.com, Amazon. It should not be available for sale in any channel. You should not be able to buy QuickBooks Desktop Pro online. So this one is asking, we're a small HOA and need a 1 or 2 user product. So I would definitely suggest QuickBooks Online. Very simple, and it's great, especially for like HOAs because, or PTAs, Parent Teacher Association, or PTOs, I think they call them now. It's great for those because it's available in the cloud. You can have view-only users who don't count, right? So like the board could log in and see things, but they don't count as a user. And you don't have to be moving files around when the treasurer changes, right? Because it's just online access. So it's a great option, and it's very simple, and the price point's low. Okay, somebody asked if I have QuickBooks Pro 2021. We can still use that as long as we have to without support. So QuickBooks Pro, it's really complicated, right? Because there is a Point of Sale Pro, but QuickBooks Desktop Pro, the financial one, the one you can run balance sheet and P&L out of, 2021, is still going to be supported until May 31st, 2024. If you use any services in product, like credit card processing, any apps, if you connect to a bank using bank feeds, that is one of the services that goes away if you're on an unsupported version. Okay, we're up at time. So I'm gonna hang out here for just a couple more seconds and see if I can answer more questions, but we're gonna do this webinar again next month. If you guys have questions in the meantime, definitely reach out to me. Lori, so we have, hey Lori, by the way, hi. We have, QuickBooks Point of Sale Lite has been used by customers of ours since like 2012. We just never promoted it in this way. We used it for a lot of our clients that wanted to do signature capture and didn't want to go to a full point of sale product. But we never, we do custom application builds. We never were full support. So it's just an option to help people carry over until they just end up where they want to end up, which is either going to be Enterprise to me or Lightspeed. Point of Sale Lite, we have for the first couple of people, we're giving away 1 year free, and then it'll be $39 per month per register. If you have 2 registers and you have 3 locations, 2 registers in each location, 6 registers, right? It'll be like $240 a month. It's about half the price of any other point of sale type of thing out there. But the real benefit for our clients is that they get to use Intuit Merchant Service Processing, because if you go outside of Intuit space, like if you go to Shopify as an example, they just have the flat 3% processing rate that you get with like a PayPal type thing. With Intuit, you can still negotiate Your credit card processing rates if you have high volume. And especially if you're in QuickBooks Enterprise, you get preferred rates. Robert, I don't actually know the price per user. I don't quote Enterprise a lot, so we can get you that after this. I'll make sure that they reach out to you. Can I have multi-users with QuickBooks Enterprise? Yeah, Enterprise can go up to 40 users, so it's the highest level product. Most of our clients, our average client is 8 users in QuickBooks Enterprise, and then probably like 75% of our clients are hosted. We use Right Networks hosting with our clients. Sometimes, most of the time, we're using Skyline hosting because you get a dedicated server as opposed to a cluster server. So our clients tend to like that a little bit better, more control. Okay. QuickBooks Online, the future of QuickBooks Desktop Pro Plus. Yeah, so if you are not using inventory, if you're not doing heavy job costing, then QuickBooks Online is great. And it's coming, like the job costing is coming together. They have estimate versus actual now. But with inventory, they still don't have sales orders, right? So it's really, you can't do fulfillment. You have to go to an app to do fulfillment. So most of our inventory clients stay in desktop and enterprise. I don't think, somebody said, should this transition be done proactively prior to the software being discontinued? I don't think you have to do anything yet, right? We're not actively moving people yet, but I do want people to be listening. I want people to be thinking and hearing. And I want them to be planning, right? What you don't want to do is be given 6 months and never have thought about it before. Especially if that 6 months is, you know, for a lot of our point of sale customers, summer is very busy for them. And so we don't want to be changing, right? The slowest months in retail are January and February usually, right? So for the point of sale customers, changing something before October, right before the busiest season of the year, holiday season, is pretty brutal. And summer is usually the second busiest season for most of them. So it's pretty brutal timing. You don't want to do that, right? You want to have some preparation. But again, knowing that QuickBooks Enterprise is there, if you're in Pro, you can hop up to Enterprise. Enterprise is monthly, no contracts. I mean, you can stick there for a little bit and figure stuff out too. So knowing there are easy outlets that might just cost a little bit more money is great. So Donna, if you still need to buy QuickBooks Pro, we do sell it. We just have no margins in it. So we do sell it to our existing customers though. So you can buy the 2023 version through us. If you do not renew QuickBooks Desktop Pro Plus, then you do not have access to your data anymore. You will not be able to open your QuickBooks file anymore. What about Pro Plus 2022? I'm not sure about that, what you mean by that. I don't know what the question is about Pro Plus 2022. There's a question about, can we watch this again? Yep, all of these will be up on our YouTube channel. So Fourlane YouTube. This will be up probably tomorrow, so you can watch the whole beginning. Somebody was saying, does it help us to buy a newer version? I mean, honestly, if you're just using basic accounting features, that's what it says, I would be looking at moving to QuickBooks Online. That would be the most simple pathway. But if you guys have a question, that's what this slide is about. If you want to demo any of these products, just let us know, and we will get you, one more, we'll get you demos. Right? If you want to see what is this, all this, you know, news about Xero, if you want to see what is all this news about QuickBooks Online, just reach out to us and we'll get you guys demos. We want to make sure that you have the tools to make decisions. That's always our goal. Somebody asked, I see no pricing for enterprise except for cloud pricing. You know, everybody's just talking about this cloud all over the place. So that's basically QuickBooks Enterprise hosted. If you need pricing, Linda, we can get you pricing of non-hosted. All right, Lori, we'll give you a call. Yeah, so Cindy is asking, if a company goes out of business and doesn't renew their QuickBooks contract, what happens if they need to access the data for audit purposes? So we do have it, and it's available. Other people will go down to one user. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. Thanks, guys. I'll talk to you next week. Let me know if you have any questions.